Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to our hashtag Female Boss mini YouTube series. Today we have the lovely Michelle Almeida, who started her own business called MDA Business Consultancy back in March 2022. Michelle worked with an organisation called Women's Business Station as a Director of Operations, and alongside that, running her own business, she is now a Corporate Director for an organisation called Netwomen and has done so for a couple of months now, since October. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yeah.
Fab. You're basically based in Dundee and the Fife region, and you've got lots of different aspects to what you do. Actually, there's lots of things going on. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you actually started up in business in the first place?
Well, thank you, Lisa. I'm glad to be with you today. So the business really came around because I had been supporting, as you said, at Women's Business Station, a number of small micro businesses, and some of them had grown beyond that micro stage and were looking for additional support at a higher level in terms of moving into VAT registration, premises, employees, etc. And WBS didn't really support that element because it was more for the micro business. So I felt compelled to create something that allowed me to continue supporting those women on an emotional level, but also on a business level, and to help them scale their businesses and to turn them into what they want for their future. So I launched it originally around that process, but then I now work with a handful of businesses at different levels, from a few 100,000 turnover up to 5 million. So I didn't anticipate that, but it actually turns out it doesn't matter how big the business is, the problems are quite similar. They're just not more people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's been really quick. So I launched, as you said, earlier this year, and diary's full. It's the 1st of December and the diary's full till January. So things are going really well for me in the business.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant. And how are you finding, working for yourself?
Yeah, not already got those boundaries mastered. I help other people master them. It's a bit like a hairdresser who doesn't get their hair cut, I guess. So I'm really good at helping other people get their things in order, but I still find myself regularly doing 6-day weeks. But it doesn't feel like work. And I think that's one of the main things about being self-employed in the thing that you are passionate about and you're energized by. You don't feel like you're working because you're loving what you're getting up to and what you're doing and the people you're interacting with. And I just feel really grateful to be in this space, to be earning a living doing what I love doing, and to be supporting people in achieving their goals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's awesome. And obviously, you're doing a bit of work now with Netwomen, and what type of work are you doing for them at the moment?
It's very varied. So I'm actually going to London for 3 days to do some networking and some meetings and to meet some big corporate companies.
Nice.
With a view to us doing a delivery program over a 12-month period around diversity and inclusivity within their operation and helping them to elevate their female leaders to board level and beyond, and to help them really understand the challenges those women are facing in their businesses. And sometimes they think it's one thing and it typically is something else. So bringing in an external company can help them really get to the detail of it, because maybe their employees are not necessarily being fully forthright in what's going on at their level. So really exciting space, but ultimately for me, it's that helping the women to achieve what they want to achieve within those businesses and helping those businesses be more profitable as a result.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I love how, even whether you're running a business starting up a business, running a business, working in a corporation, there's always a running theme with the, women in leadership roles, and whether it be a confidence thing, dealing with imposter syndrome. I mean, these are all the things that for some reason, whenever you reach a certain level, people just expect you just not to have these things anymore. But sometimes it actually ends up worse.
Absolutely. And I think it's that thing of, we don't think we can say it. So, exactly. I've had people, they're like, you're so confident all the time. And I went live on LinkedIn. I did like a 5-day thing of, I'm live on LinkedIn because it petrifies me. And people had no idea that you would be afraid of that. And I was like, well, why not? I'm still a human being. Just because I'm a confident person and I believe in what I do doesn't mean I don't have any fear. But what I won't do is let fear stop me. And I think it's inspiring sometimes for people to realize that all of us at some point will feel those feelings, and it's how we handle those situations and what we do about it that changes who we are and where we get to.
Absolutely. And it's about talking about it, exactly what you're saying. And that's definitely something that we do you know, the hashtag Female Boss Initiative is to try and build the confidence of the students who are participating, speak about, you know, imposter syndrome, and be open and honest about these things, because why wouldn't we be? We're all living in the same world, we're all experiencing all these things, and exactly what you were saying, it's like, we can't talk about it, but why not? You know, so we need to make that change. So yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. But I mean, obviously when you're running a business, it's hard, you know, and you know, it's very hard, and you're working a lot with different organizations and businesses, you know, to help them grow and move them in a different direction. What would you say is the challenges that you've faced, you know, whilst you've been in business, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think the big challenge was pricing. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I had helped other women and other micro businesses work out their pricing for so long. But then I left a nonprofit where it was free. And suddenly now I want to be in a space and say, I'm a professional and you should pay me. And it just was really challenging in those first 2 or 3 months to find a price point that I was comfortable with, that I felt gave me value, but also allowed me to still service some of the community I'd been working with.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've transitioned. So I spent a lot of time looking at that in myself, working out why I was thinking those things. It's a bit that imposter syndrome was in there as well, around, can I really charge that much per day? All of those things happened. But ultimately, I sat down and I was like, I'm not charging per day. I'm charging for my network, my community, my knowledge, my expertise. And it's not about the time they have with me. It's the value I bring to them and their companies and the difference I make to them. So I've put in a value-based pricing. So bigger companies will pay a little bit more. And so that allows me to then spend some time with companies that I really align with, and individuals that I really believe in and want to support. And it's given me a diverse mix of client base, but it means I'm always interested and I'm always trying to push them forward. But pricing was huge, and I didn't think it would be, because I've got so much knowledge. But yeah, it was the thing that probably held me back a little bit in the first few months in terms of my potential earning, but I'm much more comfortable now with where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing you've actually gotten to that point, but I totally understand what you mean, is that you're fine telling everybody else what they should be charging, but when it comes to yourself, like, you don't actually know sometimes how much you're supposed to be worth, which sounds mad, you know?
Absolutely.
I'm just thinking as well, you know, when you start up a business as well, you're kind of testing the water, and obviously you come with lots of amazing experience. You've got, exactly what you said, you've got an amazing network. You're very value driven as well. But when you're just starting out, you never really know how much people will actually pay as well. So you don't want to go too high at the start, you know, but you can obviously increase as time goes on. Is that something that you've kind of thought about at all?
Yeah, so I'm now probably, I'm not necessarily increased price, although pricing has increased. I've more refined. So when I originally launched, I had 4 or 5 different ways people could work with me, and I think I did too much. And what happened is people were choosing how to work with me. So then I refined my offer to suit the client base, and now have a couple of price points depending on what I'm doing. But it's tricky, as you said, to put a price on your value. So you ultimately you're selling your time, even if it's not your time in terms of an hourly rate. And I think it's very easy to see how quite quickly my diary got filled up, and then I had to look at who I was working with and what value I brought to them and what value they brought to me, because now I'm self-employed. I choose who I work with, and I have to really feel aligned with them to be able to get the best from me, and for them to get the best out of that relationship too. So it has pivoted and changed over the 9 months, but I'm comfortable with how I'm going into the next year and what the future looks like in 2023 for the business.
Fab. And did anybody support you, you know, pulling all that together? I mean, we obviously were really, really passionate about allocating mentors and surrounding the right people around you, to whether it be other organizations, as I mentioned, mentors. Is there anybody that's helped you, you know, get to that point?
A little bit. So I'm really fortunate that I had an extended network prior to that from the ecosystem. So there have been people that are trusted advisors, I guess, that I felt I could be honest with where I was at and what was happening in the business, and they were sort of really good sounding boards for me. I also have a coach that I've been working with since February of last year. So, you know, we're coming up to our 2 years in next year, and that for me has been around my mindset and how I feel about myself, how I value myself, how I set goals and challenges for myself. And I continually have a weekly check-in in terms of a coaching session. And it's kept me motivated and on track in those moments. Because when you launch a business, in April this year, I had one client and I was like, I can't pay my mortgage at the end of this month. And then that's literally the choice you make sometimes when you step into this space. But you had to do it with a real faith and belief that whatever comes will work out, and wherever you go is the right space and time for you. So I just turned up and connected with people and told people I was here and what I was doing. But I opened myself up to being vulnerable and being in spaces that I wasn't used to being in, so that I could learn and grow as a person, but also, as you said, meet new people and have other people to give me their expertise, their advice, and share their journey with me, which allowed me to be able to move quicker in terms of the transition for my sort of in 10 months from one level to another level with a business, because of those incredible people around me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And was it quite nerve-wracking trying to be that little bit more vulnerable and stepping a little bit out your comfort zone?
Yeah, I don't know about yourself, Lisa. It's not my forte. So.
No, because we're naturally, like, as humans, we're always trying to protect ourselves, and if we're going against the grain, it's not supposed to feel as good. But then once you do it, you're like, oh, it's actually not that bad. But it's the doing it that's the hardest part.
Yeah, and I think people genuinely respect you more and are actually more open to helping you and leveraging their networks and supporting you in what way they can when you have been open with them. So, there's no point in me sitting there and saying everything's amazing and everything's incredible just because I think the clients expect me to have it nailed. It's that thing around, you're a business coach, so why do you need someone to help you? Because you're meant to be helping other people. So it is a little bit of a tricky one, but for me to say to somebody, these are things that I'm struggling with, these are things I don't enjoy doing, these are things that I want to outsource, this is how I'm feeling. It's important for me to share that as much around empathy and understanding with other people, but also so the clients know that I felt their pains too. I've been in their shoes and I've had to come through that and work through that for me, and I can utilize that experience to guide them in ways and opportunities that might be right for them.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's amazing. And again, through #Females, there's a number of us who have run a business or are running a business. So when we're working with the students and trying to mentor them and guide them to start up their business ideas and build that confidence, we're doing it from a place of experience. We have been in their shoes, and I think that's so valuable, because as I mentioned earlier, it is really hard. And it's about someone being able to understand the process that you're going through because you've did it yourself, Absolutely.
And I think I utilised that previously in the work I was doing at Women's Business Station around, I'd had a restaurant in Portugal for 6 years. And I said to one of the restaurant owners, I sat at a table and did that thing of, do I have to buy salt and pepper pots this week? Or could I just take them off the table and then take them out when the food's served so I don't need them because people were stealing them? So I've been in that space where you're making really tiny decisions that would make such a big difference to your cash flow in your business. And I understand that burden of responsibility to pay wages and to pay suppliers. And I've been in those shoes. And I think I have so much respect for anyone who's making that decision to move into a business space, but also knowing that there's other people around them to support them, like yourselves, like other people in the ecosystem. And then ultimately there's people like myself in the private sector that just want the best for the businesses that we work with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of, a turning point for you, seeing the difference and the impact that your particular business is actually having, can you remember that particular point? You're like, oh my goodness, this is actually happening. I'm making an impact. Yay, go me.
There's been so many. I think, I mean, one of the most recent ones was at the awards recently. So at the Business Women Scotland Awards, one of my clients won a startup business award and went up on stage, and I was there with her, and she actually gave me a shout out on stage and thanked me for all my support.
Oh, that's lovely.
Even now, I just got goosebumps. I just feel so proud of her. It's like I felt I felt incredibly proud that she
Yeah.
had grown so much in 3 or 4 months we've been working together, and continues to grow now. And that her self-belief and her business performance are both upscaling and improving. And if I'm part of that in any small way, then that's something to be really proud of. And I just, it's not their successes are my successes by default, I guess, but it's the moment they believe in themselves and they take the action to turn things around and to make things better for themselves that gives me that joy.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really amazing.
I feel a bit emotional.
No, but that's so great. And I think it's, it's that thing of just watching people flourish and grow. And it's so nice to be a part of someone's journey like that. And it's obviously given her, so much value because she named you when she won an award, which is so nice.
Absolutely. And it's not always about the big things, is it? It is about the smaller things too.
Definitely.
But I've done a lot on my own mindset and my own resilience and self-worth, and I use elements of that when I'm with founders, because whether it's a £500,000 £1 million business or £100,000 business, it doesn't really matter. The person who started it at some point has either lost their way or had a moment and for whatever reason have gone off course a little bit, which is why they maybe need some support. And being able to use elements of that in the work I do with them helps them start to believe again in themselves and set the goal for the company that is maybe scary. But if you set a small goal, you'll only achieve small things. And that's fine if that's what you want. But if you want more than that, then you have to say it out loud and go for it. And I help them know that that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, looking after yourself is so important because, there's so many different aspects of running a business, and stress is definitely something that you're going to come across. Burnout potentially could be something that you experience as well. And, so in terms of like looking after yourself, do you ever give, the people that you work with advice on how to make sure that they keep well? Because if they're not well, then the business is not going to be as well either. So it's about that balance. So what is it that you do with them?
Yeah, so one of my clients at the moment, I'm constantly telling him to eat and sleep because he thinks he forgets to do those things, which sounds ridiculous when you're in a normal job. But he gets his head down at like 7 in the morning, and maybe he's still going at 7 o'clock at night, and he's had like a couple of cups of coffee or whatever in the day. And I'm like, if you don't eat and you don't sleep, you're not productive, and you're just wasting time looking at a screen. So,
no,
so I do things like that. I think. I try and encourage them to set some boundaries, depending on where they are in the business. And we spend some time looking at their vision and their mission, but not in terms of standard ways, but in terms of, why are you doing this? What is the thing you want? Not just for the company, but what do you want to get from this? What is the reason you're here? It can't just be you're here to grow a big business and make £1 million. I mean, that's great. Everyone wants that. But what are you going to do with that money? The money is just the thing. What are you doing with that to benefit your life, your family's life, your situation? And tap into the emotion of why you're doing what you're doing to help you in those moments where you feel overwhelmed and to keep you on track. So if something doesn't feel aligned, there's a reason, and you need to check in with yourself as to what's going on.
Definitely. And I can relate to that a little bit. So I had a business for a good number of years, and I kind of got to that point where I just didn't know if I loved it anymore. And I'm very passionate about making an impact through the work that I do. And obviously I get to work for Young Enterprise Scotland, so I get to do that in my everyday job. But I kind of felt like that through my business, I wasn't doing that. And I didn't have that drive anymore because of that, and that's okay.
Absolutely. And at some point you might decide to stop doing it. And I've had those conversations. So I've had a strategy session with someone when they've asked for a half-day strategy session, and at the end of it, they've decided they don't want to do it anymore. And actually, the conversation was about them exiting, not about them staying in it. And our lives are so short, and they just come once. So it's important that whatever we're doing it because we want to be doing it, and we're not just taking time over because we don't know how much time we have.
That's so true. So true. Sometimes it's quite a scary thought if you think about it too much, But I mean, obviously, we're here to inspire, the students who are looking to potentially, start up a business or develop that business idea a little bit further and build confidence. And I mean, what would be your top tip for any student who's looking to start up a business?
So do it. So I think we spend too long doing what we think is expected of us. So we think we have to get a job. We think we have to go to university. We think we need to do all these things because that's what traditionally we would do. But if that doesn't resonate with you and you want to try something else, you have absolutely nothing to lose at this time in your life. So do it. Ask for help, turn up at networking events, put yourself out there, but just take the action and do it and see where it takes you, because you could be really surprised. You know, there's a lot of people doing suitcase businesses right now, and they're traveling around the world and they're doing marketing and social media jobs for themselves, but they're doing it in incredible places. And, you know, whatever it is for you, just do it, because you could be all the things you want to be if you take action. And for me, that's the big one. You know, I've got into my 40s and I've just launched into a business for myself, because I didn't want to live someone else's dream and someone else's life. I wanted to have the life I want. But I waited a long time. So, you know, if you're in your teens, 20s right now, and you're thinking, I want more from life, I want more freedom, I want more opportunity, I want to be able to choose what I want to do, then just do it. And you know, the worst that can happen is it doesn't work out. You learn, you grow, and you go again.
Absolutely. 110%. I mean, whether you run a business for a year, 10 years, I mean, for your full career, the experience and skills that you'll take away from doing that will make you so employable. You know, that's what happened to me. So I ran my shop and then never did business before in my life. And then obviously ended up getting a great job at Young Enterprise Scotland. But I gained all that through enterprise education, you know, and doing it. So that's completely, you just got to do it. And it doesn't have to be a massive leap. It can be a small step, and it can literally just be having a conversation.
Absolutely.
You know, just take your time, do it at your own pace, but 100% do it. Yeah,
100%. And I think it's that, start to say it. So start to say to somebody other than your family and friends who maybe, because they love you, tell you it's not the best choice. Start to say to somebody, I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to launch that business. I'm going to be a photographer and I'm going to get paid for it. I'm going to do social media, get paid for it. Whatever the thing is, the more you say it out loud and the more you start to believe it, the truer it becomes. And before you know it, it's what you're doing. Yeah.
I mean, even, you know, create a vision board, put it on your fridge or put it in your room or somewhere that you're going to see it. It could be the background on your phone, and write those goals there so you never forget it as well. Do you ever use any vision boards or stuff like that?
So I do have a goal card. So that's something my coach encourages through his program. So I carry a goal card around with me that has my goal, but it's my big goal. It's my big scary goal that I have absolutely no idea how I'll ever achieve. But I say it to myself every day, and I envisage the life I'll have when I've achieved that. And I think that to me is my make-believe time. You know, I act as if and live in the space for those moments where I meditate and imagine myself in that life. And, you know, we stop doing that so early in our lives, and we need to embrace a bit more of that, I think, too.
Yeah, you got to manifest it. I'm a massive believer in manifestation, you know. You got to feel it. And if you can feel it, you can definitely make it happen, you know. Well, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. It was lovely chatting.
I know, loving all your work, and thank you so much for obviously speaking to us today. And hopefully that your story, and if of course if anybody wants to reach out and find you on LinkedIn, they can obviously do that as well. But I just want to thank you so much for supporting us today and having a wee chat.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot, Lisa.
Thank you so much.